Building a house is like playing the guitar. Everybody knows how, but not everyone can do it. Just 1 month ago, this house wasn't here. Why frame a house this quickly? This little scrap pile is all that was left over from building a 2,500 square foot house. Hey guys, today we'll be taking a look at our project in Austin. This house is a wood-framed house, and we'll be going over how to get the framing done within a month. Just 1 month ago, this house wasn't there. All we had was the foundation. Today, we've already got windows going in. The roofers are getting started. And tomorrow, we have more contractors coming in to start their work. So, how can you quickly frame a house? In my opinion, planning is what makes the difference. We have 5 steps to our home building process. The first step is design. And that's when we create the layout and all the design features. Then we can move on to the next step. That's ordering all the materials. You've got to order your materials in advance. After that, you can move on to choosing your contractors and agreeing on all the terms and conditions. Then there's the construction. And the last step is the inspection of the house. When the inspector comes, he'll either sign off on the work that's done or point out the issues. If there are problems, they'll need to be fixed. After that, you can move on to the interior of the house. You may be wondering what the point of framing a house quickly is. Well, I specifically do a lot of pre-ordering and put a plan in place so that we can build a house within 7 to 8 months. Should we reshoot it? Sorry. The project is in full swing. Unfortunately, we can't stop because we have deadlines. The first reason being, it's a really awesome way to get a good return on your investment. Having a quick turnaround is the key to making a good profit. Secondly, there's the rain and even flooding. You don't want to be exposed to the rain. Here, we managed to build this between rain spells so that there wasn't exposure to the water. We've already dried this house, and the contractors can start working inside. The faster the framing is done, the smoother the project goes, and it's actually better for the quality of the house. The longer the project drags on, the worse the materials may hold up. There can be exposure to water, etc. That's another important reason why it's good to get the framing done quickly. So, step 1, planning. As you can see, we're already installing windows. And it's true. To get things done this quickly and have these results, you've got to have good planning. I'll go over 3 important aspects. The first aspect is detailing all the features and elements of the house. It should be so perfectly done that anyone, even a child, could look at the plans and understand how the house is being built. Sometimes I've got the drawings from a structural engineer, and I've noticed that they don't even have all the dimensions indicated. For example, it doesn't show the distance from the center of the window to the edge of the wall. Because of that, I had to spend a lot of time looking over the architectural drawings, and even add these numbers by hand. It ate up a lot of time. Taking that as an example, that's why it's important to have a detailed plan. The second aspect, after having a detailed design, is the rendering of all the walls, all beams, all studs, even the size of the studs. Of course, there are standardized sizings, and we usually plan on those. But if there are non-standard studs, we can calculate exactly how much of that material we need, what sizes, as well as any beams. This gives us the ability to order an accurate amount of materials. By the way, you can see this little scrap pile. Think about it. This little scrap pile is all that's left from framing this 2,500 square foot house. There were several large piles of materials, like boards, plywood, and beams, and all that's left is just this little pile. It goes to show how important planning and pre-ordering is. After that, of course, there's the construction. After the design and detailing is done, after getting the drawings for every wall, every beam, it's best to make 3 different renderings of the frame of the house. Of course, you can use your contractor who can have the rendering done professionally. They'll understand the drawings. Sometimes you need to turn the house. and see what a certain feature looks like from a different angle. This really helps speed up the process if a contractor has a question about something. The next stage is ordering materials. Of course, materials should be ordered in advance. For example, the beams that we ordered for this house. We had to wait 3 weeks for them to come in. And these windows were ordered about 4 months ago. We ordered the windows according to the drawings and the dimensions. These windows were manufactured in Turkey. It took about a month and a half for them to be made, and 2.5 months for delivery. We immediately ordered these 4 windows. Similarly, we've already ordered garage doors. We've ordered the kitchen. So even though the kitchen is still being framed, we've already ordered our cabinets. We ordered the cabinets from Ukraine, and they're already being manufactured. This material we're using is an alternative to zip system panels. The classic way to do it is to install OSB, and then have it covered with Tyvek. That's the standard way. But it takes longer, because the Tyvek film needs to be stapled on after the OSB. But this OSB is already covered with a special vapor barrier. This is an alternative brand, and it's much cheaper than zip panels. It doesn't need to be covered with Tyvek. You can apply the stucco right to it. It's quick to install, inexpensive, good quality, and I recommend it. Let's talk a bit about contractors and how to choose them. Let's go up to the second floor to get away from this banging. So, choosing a contractor. It's important to choose the right contractor. One who will work with a good attitude, and maybe even with good music. That's important, but not the most important. What's best is to have a recommendation. What kind of experience does the contractor have? It's a good idea to get a few recommendations from other builders, or from one of their most recent clients. We had bids from different contractors, and we chose our contractors for a few reasons. The first reason is because of the quality of their work. We went to see some of the work they've done. The second reason was the recommendation. And thirdly, I pay attention to how they answer questions, including how quickly, and their level of professionalism. The last reason was just because of their overall mood. Are they a nice person to work with? Well, of course, the most difficult and longest part of the project is the construction. There are a lot of small details here, and I won't have the time to go over everything in this video, but I will point out some things. One thing is that we're using 2x6 studs to build the exterior walls of the house. Why do we do this? These are 2x6, and these are 2x4. Well, first of all, it makes for a stronger frame. Secondly, in the 2x6 walls, there's a lot of different surfaces, pipes and wires. It makes sense because more of the plumbing, electrical, and other services are going to be running in the exterior walls, rather than the interior walls. That's why the interior walls are made with just 2x4s. There's another super important detail to pay attention to, and that's making sure the openings for the windows are precise. This is especially important when you've ordered the windows in advance. Of course, we already have our detailed building plans, but some people are still going to make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. That's why it's a good idea to go through with a tape measure and double-check the measurements of the openings after having looked at your plans. We also want to be able to install the windows easily. So when we size the opening, we plan on having an extra ½ inch for play. Then, when the windows are installed, we fill that gap with a specialized silicone. I've got another trick for you that can help you avoid problems later. We've got plywood on the floor here. It's cheaper than OSB by about 30 to 40%. Though they both are used in pretty much the same way. Plywood has one drawback. If it gets wet on the edges here, it can start to swell up. That can be a big problem when you're installing the flooring, as it will make it uneven, and you'll have to level them off. So we take some zip tape and seal the edges. That way it's protected from water. So even if it had rained, the water wouldn't have penetrated the edges and caused any distortion or swelling. We've already dried in the house at this stage, and the plywood is in good shape. Be sure to pay attention and think in advance where the AC unit will be sitting. You'll need a platform under the AC. If you're going to put the AC in the attic like we are, we built a staging area for it right away. People often forget to do this, and they'll even install the drywall before doing it. That makes it a lot more difficult. So just do it beforehand. Let's talk about the attic. You'll need to install an access point for the attic. In general, it's not super important where you decide to put the access, but we try to put it somewhere that's not very visible. We try to hide them in places like storerooms or bathrooms so they aren't too prominent. For this project, we put the pull-down stairs in this closet, which is in one of the rooms. Two features that are important when building a house. When the framing meets the concrete, you need to have these bolts to secure it down. We've got these bolts in the concrete, and then we secure the wall down with nuts and washers. But you'll also need additional ones by the windows. We've got them to the left and right of the window. Also, make sure the bottom board is treated wood. It's green. You can't use regular wood since it will be exposed to some moisture. The treated wood is especially made to handle moisture. Another thing to pay attention to is the stairs. Right now, it's just secured in with nails. But as time goes on, the wood can begin to bend and creak as it dries out. I recommend to secure the entire staircase with screws. Here on the steps, and on all these features, like right here, on the stair tread, on the beam. On features like these, especially stairs, it's better to use screws, because the stairs are subjected to constant pressure of people going up and down, and it's constantly moving. This will make sure that you don't have any squeaks in the future. One of my favorite things is adding design features along the way. When we designed it, we had this wall come out, so there was a little landing here. But then when I saw this wall, I thought, why not make a niche here where you can put some nice little design elements? It costs nothing extra, and it will add a very lovely design element when you're going up the stairs, and you see either candles, vases, or flowers. So, we've gone over the planning, ordering materials in advance, choosing a contractor, and construction of the frame. We went over it quickly, but this is an overview of the art of home building in America that's been developing over the last 300 years. The last step is inspection. We do a double inspection. The first is my personal inspection. Then we invite a specialist, a licensed inspector who checks all the little elements of the house. How it was built, secured. He looks at the hangers that were installed. Make sure the floor is solid. By the way, take a look at this thick, solid set of studs. It's like a column. When I first came and looked, there was only one stud here. This is actually one of the most important points of the house, though, because it's a meeting point for the trusses. It turns out that there is a really big load on this wall. That's why the inspector and myself, and even the contractor, thought it was important to strengthen this point. And we decided to add these 5 studs. I think we might even add some more here. The guys are going to fix any other things the inspector pointed out, and after that, the inspector will come again and do his final inspection. Finally, we can move on to the interior work of the house, and soon, this house will get its owners. So, we spent today talking about how to frame a house in a month. Actually, it's the planning that takes the most time. We've been preparing this project for about 6 months. We were working with the architects, engineers, and suppliers, but the house was framed in a month. It is possible to do it that quickly. If you have any questions, be sure to ask them in the comments section below. I can make another video on topics that interest you on building a wood frame house. Please subscribe, like, and comment, and I'll see you in the next video.